This is Kathy Biehl of Empowermentunlimited.net with Astro-Insight for the week of April 16th, 2018. Think life's been crazy? No, my friends, you ain't seen nothing yet. This week is brought to you by the planet Uranus and the sign Aries. And when Uranus is in charge of the party, all bets are off. Here's what I can predict with certainty this week. Whatever you think is going to happen, even if it does happen, it won't in the way you think it is. This week is explosive, combustive, energizing, motivating. It is self-actualizing and individuating to the max. That's the good news for you. Processes that have been building in your life, energies that have been stoking in you are finally going to be springing you out of whatever shell you've been living in. There is a quote I've seen attributed to a number of people, and the gist of which is there came a point at which the pain of living inside the shell was greater than the pain of leaving it. We really don't have a lot of immediate choice in leaving the shell right now. The circumstances for blasting us out of them were ignited a long time ago. And now we burst out of personal prisons, concepts of ourselves, shells, clothing, manners of being that really are constraining who we have evolved into. A lot of what is happening, is exploding, is tilting the world on its axis this week was set in motion 9 months ago. Isn't that an interesting number? At the time of the total solar eclipse in Leo at the end of August last year. Keep that in mind as this week flares out. Endeavor to look at whatever happens from the viewpoint of, how does this free me up? How am I now freer to be me? To be the me that I am now, as opposed to the me that I was taught to be. Do keep in mind that we're going to feel like we're walking through a minefield in a sense. There will be all kinds of things exploding all around us and inside of us. There is a very strong streak of breaking point, of not being able to tolerate any longer. Let's look for a moment at the host planet and sign of the week. Uranus is the cosmic rebel, the agent of unpredictable, volatile, unexpected change, the tosser of Molotov cocktails when he's in Aries, which is where he is now. He is the advocate of alternate viewpoints. He often tilts the situation so that you see things that you didn't before. So there's genius, problem-solving, innovation, epiphany potential in all of this. Aries, oh my, ruled by the god of war. Aries is not much for social niceties or for waiting. It is raw life force bursting out of everybody, everything, without much regard for anybody else, just running ramshod through life. With Mercury finally direct in the sign of Aries, communications could be extremely explosive, combustive, clarifying, invigorating, energizing, maddening, infuriating, and appropriate for Mercury's about face. The week will have a very strong feel of looking backward and forward simultaneously. This is because we are ending a major cycle and beginning a major cycle, which are roughly the same length, but actually otherwise unrelated. A cycle is wrapping up that we've been in since the spring of 2010, with Uranus in his final weeks in Aries. He'll duck back in late in the fall until February of next year for final cleanup. But for right now, we are wrapping up the personal, individual role, effect, implications of the fundamental turmoil and upheaval and evolution that we've been in since 2010. And another cycle is starting that's going to last about 8 years, and that is Chiron, on Tuesday, moving into the sign of Aries. Now, Chiron is named for a centaur who was hit by a poisoned arrow that Hercules shot, and since he was immortal, he could not get release from the pain. So he traded his immortality to become fully mortal so that he could die. Chiron represents abiding wounds and the call to master, sink into and master the physicality of existence. It's kind of a be here now. Since 2010, interesting. Since 2010, Chiron has been in Pisces, stirring all kinds of issues having to do with our interconnectedness, compassion, empathy, lack of empathy, having difficulty separating ourselves from everyone else, and on the flip side, the illusion of separateness. When Chiron moves into Aries, it's firing up issues of initiative, personal action, our personal role, individuation, what we do with our self-actualization, aggression, anger, warfare, weaponry. Chiron is going to duck back into Pisces for some cleanup work in the fall, but basically the new regime is here. Now, before you crawl into bed, put a pillow over your head and say, can I just make this go away? Remember that the effect on you is going to be energizing, motivating, and invigorating. And there's not going to be a lot of time to think about things. You will simply act. The thinking has already happened. Your orientation has already happened. The orientation of your perspective, the direction in which you are looking, that has already been set. And underneath this all, the two planets of desire and money are teaming. Venus is trining Pluto. Venus, ruler of everything we desire and value. Love, relationships, our precious baubles and toys, money, creativity, our aesthetic sense, beauty, is in teamwork with Pluto, lord of the underworld, ruler of unfathomable wealth, hidden deep, and of desire that amounts to being pulled by a tractor beam, obsessive, compulsive, irresistible. We will be guided by what our hearts want, by what our psyches want, by what our cells want. This is raw, primal, fierce, undeniable. It will bring more and more secrets out of the woodwork, and it is extraordinarily empowering, not just for our hearts, but for women. Keep that in mind as you look at the news. On top of that, it will streamline what is most important to us, cause us to focus. If there has been triangulation going on, you may A, see it, B, be forced to own up to it, C, figure out which side of the equation really means more to you in the long haul and choose it. And in the midst of this, Saturn, the planet of adulting, starts his first retrograde of the year, and since he entered Capricorn last December. So this will be a tiny drag on the action, a tiny break, a tiny note of caution amidst all of the eruptions and explosions and excitement and exhilaration. The gift of it all is very personal. No matter what happens in the collective news, bring your mind back to you. Homing thought of the week: you can run, but you can't hide. Song of the week, I have two: Break On Through to the Other Side by The Doors and Follow Your Arrow by Casey Musgraves, except it's not so much that you're following the arrow, you are the arrow. And the image of the week is an explosive blowing off the lock on a jail cell. You'll find more information about all of this in my forecast for the Aries new moon, which is posted at my site, Empowermentunlimited.net, along with my forecast for April, and where you can also sign up for my mailing list and book a session with me. Talk to you next week.